Hello everyone and welcome back. Well, after looking at the move bishop to d3, well, let's see another variations which is valuable for white is bishop come to the e2, and let's see how black can handle these variations. So before you go to the next move, I'll tell you something. The first one is that this bishop is inaccurately placed for a moment because this bishop is not threatening any black pieces. But the good thing is that after, let's say, c takes d4, white doesn't have to worry about this pawn because it is well protected. So for the black, sometimes black must face a tough game at bishop to e2, and you don't have to rush to play f6. Just develop your pieces normally. So after bishop to e2, I think there's no other better continuation for black except c takes d4, and then knight come to h6. Note that you should play this move in order. Why? Because if you play knight to h6 first, then white can take it by playing bishop takes h6, and if black play queen takes b2, bishop to e3, exclamation mark. Why? Because after queen takes a1, queen to c2, trapping the queen, and if black played c takes d4, knight takes d4 is the best reply for black. Note that you shouldn't play c takes d4 because bishop b4 check, and the black queen will save soon. Okay, knight takes d4, threatening knight to b3, killing the queen. Knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, and again not to play c takes the d4 because bishop to b4 check is still playing. Bishop to a3, bishop to b5 check, king to f8, and then castle. Well, after queen to b2, bishop to c5 check, and after king to g8, knight takes a3, winning a pieces. So that's why you should play c takes d4 first in order to avoid that tactic. After c takes d4, knight to h6. Well, bishop takes h6 doesn't work anymore because after queen takes b2, bishop to e3, queen takes a1, queen to c2, and then bishop to b4 check. Okay, so after knight to h6, knight to c3, developing a piece and also putting the white knight at its best position. Okay, continue with knight to f5, sorry, and then knight to a4, threatening the black queen. Queen to a5, giving a check. well, bishop to d2, let's say knight to c3, then bishop to b4 is a good move. Queen to d3 and then bishop to d7, activating this bishop, and also black will play rook to c8 or even castle, etc. So bishop to d2 and then bishop to b4, threatening if, example, white play h3, then bishop takes d2, knight takes d2, no, not queen takes d2 because queen takes a4, winning a piece, knight takes d2, and then knight f takes d4. Well, that's only an example. White continue by playing bishop to c3 and then b5. Keep attacking the white piece as soon as possible, and after a3, bishop takes c3, not queen takes a4 because a takes b4 is a good move, and after a couple of change, then I think white is better because he has a pair bishop and also a space advantage. So bishop takes c3 check, knight takes a c3 and then b4. Keep advancing the b5 pawn, attacking the white king, keeping the tension, and after a takes b4, queen takes b4, queen to a4. Please note that if white play bishop to b5, then bishop to d7, and after queen to a4, queen takes b2, rook to a3. Note that if white take the c6, then queen takes c3 check, and after king to e2, then queen takes c6, winning a piece. So after queen takes b2, rook to a3, just castle. Well, the tactic still on. After bishop takes c6, bishop take c6, queen takes c6, and then giving a check first, and after that queen takes a3, winning a piece. Okay. Rook to a3, castle, and then castle a6. Rook to b1. Well, after bishop to d3, let's say, then knight c takes d4. Take, and then queen takes a3, also winning a piece too. So rook to b1, queen takes a3, queen takes a3, a takes b5, queen to b2, and then rook f to b8. And black has a good compensation for queen, and white should keep an eye with this pawn. So after queen a4, bishop to d7, queen takes b4, knight takes b4, and I think this position is equal for both sides. Well, after examining bishop to e2 variation, and now we are going to see a game between Evgeny Vasyukov 2455 against Viktor Korchnoi 2553, which is held in Russia 2011. So we all have known that Viktor Korchnoi is the best defender, counter player in the world, one of the best. So after bishop to e2, she takes d4, knight to h6, and after knight to c3, Korchnoi delaying to play knight to f5. Instead, he played bishop to d7. Okay, that is also playable. Evgeny played knight to a4, queen to a5 check, and then Evgeny decided to play king to f1. So another variation. After that, knight to f6, knight to f5, attacking the d4 pawn. And after knight to c3, h5. So 2 point for h5 move. The first one is to make this knight sit comfortable so that white cannot play g4. Second is to attack the white king side immediately, maybe playing h4 and then h3, etc. So after that, a3, h4, and then bishop to f4. Well, I don't see any threat. Maybe I think white should consider to play bishop to e3 in order to protect this pawn. And after bishop to e7, bishop to d3, and then this position, it's still equal for both sides. Okay, Evgeny didn't play that. Bishop f4, and then queen to b6, threatening these two pawns. And knight to a4, and then Korchnoi bring back the queen to the d8 in order to push this pawn. Maybe after that, bishop to e7. Okay, the game continue. Rook to c1. Well, I guess white should play bishop to g5 here, so that after bishop to e7, white can take the bishop, and then rook to c1. Again, this position is equal. Okay, well, black cannot play f6 because then e takes f6, g takes f6, and then the best move is knight takes h4, because let's say after knight takes h4, then bishop to h5 check, and king to e7, and then bishop takes h4, winning a pawn. So rook to c1, and then bishop to e7. So black is already threatening to play g5, and after knight to c5, g5 is coming. Okay, bishop to e3. Well, Korchnoi doesn't seem to worry about his b7 pawn. Instead, he keeps attacking by playing g4. So look at this diagram. I think black is good at this position because he tried to push his pawn any further to make his space bigger. Okay, bishop takes c5, rook takes c5, and then knight takes e3, and then queen to g4, activating the queen. Okay, rook to c3. I think knight to c2 is also good. It is to protect this pawn and also give the king a space. Maybe he can go to e1, d2, c1, and then b1, and start to thinking to play rook to g1, and then rook to f1, and attacking the black king side. Okay, castle, and let's say if white take, and then f6 is coming, threatening to discover the attack by playing f takes e5. Okay, so after queen to g4, white decided to play rook to c3, f6. That's a good move in order to attack this king and open up the file for the rook. So let's say if he take, queen takes f6, and then rook to f8, threatening mate at the f2, and then after knight to d3, knight takes d4 is the best move, because if white take and then mate at the next move, so bishop to takes g4 and then knight to f5 in order to take this pawn. So what a great attack from black. And after rook to c3, f6, white decide to take the g4 pawn, and after f takes e5, h3. The main move of h3 is to protect this bishop so that this king will go to e2 safely. Okay, the game continue. e4, excellent move. But playing e4, black is having a huge advantage at space. See, this knight cannot jump to the d3 and or f4, f3, which is his best square, and it make white to play more passive king to e2 in order to put the king to the safe move at to the safe square at the b1. Castle queen side, bringing another rook to the f8. Sorry. King to d2, rook h to f8, king to c2, king to b8, king to b1, and then here comes rook to f2. So black has a huge advantage at space, and after that white play rook to g1 so that this knight can jump to c2, and also by playing rook to g1 is to protect this pawn, and maybe you want to break the g5 by playing g3. Okay, knight to a5, sorry. After that g3, and then knight to c4, threatening this pawn. Well, Eugenie didn't worry about that. Instead, he took the h4 pawn, and then court knight take the b2 by check. King to c1. I think that's not the safe square for white. I think white should consider king to a1. After queen to e7, rook to g2, rook takes g2, knight takes g2, and then knight takes a3, knight to f4, knight to c4. Okay, instead he played king to c1, and then queen to e7, not queen takes h4, because then white can take the knight, remove the defender, and let's say if he take this, then white is winning. So rook to a2, king to b1, rook takes a3 to c5, and after b6, rook to c2. Well, maybe rook takes e3 is a good move rather than bishop to a4, because black is down a piece, and after another trade, white is winning 3 against 2. Okay, so black realized that, and he played queen to e7, and now rook takes c4 doesn't work, because then here comes queen takes a3, threatening mat to a1, and rook to c2, black take, and then bishop a4, winning for what? For black. Okay, queen to e7, and then knight to c2, rook back to b6, bishop to e2. I think this is a blunder from white. Maybe queen to e1 is a better move. And after rook to c8, queen to g3 check, and then it's still unclear. So bishop to e2 and then knight to b2, and you see after that why I tell you that bishop to e2 is a blunder, because then here come knight to a4. This rook is out of square. Okay, queen to g3 check, e5, and then rook to c5 take, and then rook to c6, because black want to keep the pressure at the king instead taking it, because after that queen takes e5, white have a long life. Okay, rook to c6, king to d2, and then rook takes c5, queen to g5, in order to simplify and also recover the double pawn at the h file. Black decided to take that, and then play rook d to c8, threatening to take this knight. Knight retreat to e1, and then bishop take h3. Okay, d6, rook 5 to c7, rook to g5. Well, I think I should play rook to g3 first, and after bishop d7, rook to g5. Why? Because this square maybe it will be safe, and this knight will come to the g2 later. Okay, the game continue. Rook to g5, black protected, and so white, and after d4, white play bishop to d1. I think that's a strange move, moving a piece twice. Rook to d8, threatening to discover attack. Bishop to b3. I think this is another blunder from white, because then after d takes e3, white cannot take the e3 pawn because there's a fork between the bishop and the king. And after king to e2, rook to c3, and here white resign. So I think that's enough for today, and I hope you learned something from this video. And if you want to share your opinion or even a game, just email me. Look at the description. Thank you very much. Bye bye.